He's either saying accept an average man, a hardworking, maybe making slightly above average, but just a hardworking, competent, productive individual who values you highly, or he's saying hold out for a high value man that values you highly. It's one or the other. One option, he's refuting his original argument in the beginning of this video. The other option, he's shrinking her dating options even more. What's up, good people? Welcome to Bernard Riley Reviews, where I review things that I've seen on the internet or anywhere else for that matter. I recently did a response video to Derrick Jaxn, responded to the Kevin Samuels controversy, the average at best controversy. And it went semi-viral for my normal views. So I'm back at it again because Derrick Jaxn came back for what I feel is round two, because I don't think that he feels that he adequately won the first round. So he's trying to get back in the ring and fight again. That's ultimately what happens. Just a continuation of the same conversation. So I'm going to respond to that right now. Let's go. Let's get it.
People, Derrick Jaxn here. So I was looking through the comments of a recent post of mine, and I saw this brother say, D, I love your channel. You speak facts, but I feel like today's women are highly delusional. That their head is in the clouds. That their expectations are too high. They're unrealistic. They need a dose of reality. They really need a reality check. Can you give these women a reality check? Yeah.
First things first, I don't believe no dude came in his comment section and said, yo, D, what up? You speak facts, man. You speak facts, bro. I just think these women, I know I love your channel. You speak facts. I just think, these women are delusional and just need a dose of reality. Could you give them? That didn't happen. Like I said before, he's trying to fight the last fight that he lost, in my opinion. So that's what's happening here. But he's just using the guy from the mythical, imaginary guy from his comment section as just a backdrop to try to justify him getting back in the ring to fight again. It's like in a
now, most times I don't even pay attention to comments like these, because every so often you'll have a group that says we want more, we require more, we demand more in some aspect of life, and then you'll have another group that tries to silence them, like an all lives matters rebuttal. And in today's generation, you have a lot of women that are saying we want more than our great grandmothers settled for in being baby making machines and slaves over a hot stove. We want more, we require more. And you also have enough.
So let me get this right. The same person who's speaking for the same group of people that have clowned men for mentioning 50-50 relationships have got argued and outboxed into a corner to where now they're arguing as if there's a problem with a man providing. We don't want to accept the provider male. That's ultimately what his arguments amount to. They don't want to accept the provider male. That they want a 50-50 partnership. They want their money to be brought to the table. You can look at his comment section. You can even look at my comment sections when I've been talking about this. I've heard women say things like, hey, if a man wants to makes 100,000, he should get with a woman that makes 100,000. If he makes 50,000, he should get with a woman that makes 50,000. The money should match. So when men were talking like that, they got called 50-50 bums who wanted a 50-50 relationship. We only want to get 50% of the submission. You want me to expect me to be feminine and submissive while I'm paying 50% of the bills? No, you want a roommate. So they've gotten outboxed into a corner to where now they're essentially arguing for roommates. They want a roommate now. That's essentially what has happened here. And it really speaks to the point to wherever the brothers say, if the brothers say, hey, let's go left, the sisterhood gonna say, let's go right. Brothers say jump, sisterhood say sit down. Brothers say, okay, let's sit down. Sisterhood say, no, we need to jump up. That's essentially what's happening here. We could pull up videos of Derrick Jaxn saying that the man is supposed to bear 100% of the responsibility. That traditional role should not change. It should not change. We can pull up videos of him saying that.
But even in a day where women are making plenty of money, I don't think every aspect of traditional thinking has to be thrown out. The part where a man is the primary, if not the sole provider, is one of them.
However, if a man who makes a lot of money is not picking a woman based off her money, that means that man would like to be in a position to provide. What the other side is saying is that no, that man who makes that money, he needs to pick a woman who makes that money. But is that man supposed to still pay 100% of the bills with a woman who's also making money, not doing 100% of the traditional female role, but he's doing 100% of the traditional male or masculine role? That's essentially what you're arguing for when you're arguing that type of partnership where they both make money. Now, I look at the data and I do the math and I understand that even if we look at white people in this country, the average white man makes a little over 50K a year. The average white woman make about 45K a year. That's where they're at. They got to put their money together to combine for 95,000. They got to put their money together to be comfortably middle class. Those are the numbers. Those are the facts. It's hard to get around that. So the same thing would naturally happen in the black community, but a man who's up there, who's making a lot of money, because in the black community, the average black man making about 40K, a little over 40K, the average black woman making around 35K. Yeah, they got to put their money together to be middle class as well. But the men who are up there making the money are saying that, no, we're not picking you based off money. We're picking you based off the other qualities, whether or not we find you attractive, whether you're cooperative, easy to get along with, feminine, fit, whatever, all of that. That's what they're saying. And then the women and their fearless leader is saying, no, y'all should get roommates. Y'all should get a roommate that makes the same amount of money as you. So you're arguing against men stepping up and being providers. And you're going to see how he's contradicting himself later on in this conversation.
And you also have another group of men and women, honestly, that say you're delusional, you're unrealistic, you need a reality check, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of times when somebody's talking that whole reality, I'm giving y'all reality, this is reality. What they're really saying is, okay, this is the status quo, this is what's out here. And ladies, y'all need to adjust your standards down. You need to adjust your expectations down. Instead of telling us men that, hey, we can be better than the status quo. We can be better than what's average, what's commonly offered out here.
Okay, now what happens when men become better than average? Because whenever the overall average increases, or if men get better, yes, it still will be an average. It just will be a higher average. So what happens with that? And we've seen this happen. When men make significantly more money than women, that becomes a problem too. Not to men, because men don't mind making more money than women. Men don't mind being in that position of providing. But then we got to hear about the wage gap. We got to hear about women not getting certain opportunities and certain advantages and certain privileges and certain this and certain that. And then they try to fight to even out that gap again. They want to fight to even out that gap. And then when they even out that gap, then the average man is making below the high earning women. And now those high earning women are complaining because there aren't enough men making more money than them to comfortably provide for them, because the man needs to make a certain amount of money in order to provide for them. Because if they're making 80K, the man has to make 80K or more to provide for them. If they're making 100K, the man has to make 100K or more in order to provide for them. Okay, so if you balance that out, and men are picking women based off other qualities that has nothing to do with money, and if only 10% of people are at the top making 100K a year, just work with those numbers. 10% of people at the top making 100K a year. It fluctuates depending on what numbers you look at, but let's just work with that. Let's just use 10% just because it makes the numbers easier. If 10% of people in this country are at the top making around 100K a year, what's going to end up happening is when the men at the top are picking from the 100% of women for whatever various factor they choose women off of. If 70% of the 100,000, 100K men at the top pick women that aren't making 100K, what that's going to do is going to leave 100% of the women that are making over 100K, only having options left for them, roughly 30% of the men that make 100K. which means that even if those 30% get with women who make 100K, there's going to be 70% of the 100K women left available on the market. And those numbers can be aggregated in other ways. Even if we start with 70K and work our way down, and men who make 70K are choosing off a different standard other than that woman's money, but the woman is choosing only off money, what's going to end up happening is that there's going to be a large percentage of women making 70K that are going to be left standing when the music stops. And that can aggregate its way all the way on down. So when women draw a line in the sand based off a certain amount of money, it's going to be a lot of them left standing when the music stops. And the only way to solve that problem is for men to make significantly more money than women, which men used to make significantly more money than women. And then women went and burned their bras in the streets to fight against that. And then they got what they wanted, and now they're complaining because there's not enough provider males out there. This is math. I said it before. We can get an economist on this. We can get Thomas Sowell on this. He could break this down, and the numbers are going to work out the way that they're working out.
There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. And whatever you do to deal with one of man's flaws, it creates another problem. But that you try to get the best trade-off you can get, and that's all you can hope for. I've often said there are three questions that I think would destroy most of the arguments on the left. And the first is, compared to what? The second is, at what cost? And the third is, what hard evidence do you have?
You can't just word salad your way out of this. There's no way to word salad your way out of the math of this. It just does not work that way. So this is just a bunch of delusional patting on the head, pacifying, panda bearing to try to make people feel good about delusional advice that's keeping them single, delusional idea or bad ideas in their head. They got bad ideas in their head. Those bad ideas are keeping them single. He's pacifying and doing a full panda bear dance. Panda bear, for those that don't get it. Panda. You get it. Okay. He's doing a full panda bear dance to feed their delusion and ultimately keep them single, to keep them by themselves. So like I said in the last video, so he can sell them what? Self-love, self-care.
You know, we can be better than narcissism. We can down. You need to adjust your expectations down. Instead of telling us men that, hey, we can be better than the status quo. We can be better than what's average, what's commonly offered out here. You know, we can be better than narcissism. We can be better than gaslighting. We can be better than unfaithfulness. We can be better than inconsistency. But let's give this particular gentleman in the comments the benefit of the doubt. Let's have it.
Okay, that was spin move number, I lost count. But that was another spin move right there. When he starts talking about women adjusting their standard or lowering their standard down, nobody has argued that they should lower their standard down in the character department. Nobody has argued that they should get with men who cheat, abuse, treat them wrong, slap them in the face. And nobody is arguing that. Nobody has ever made that argument. The whole thing about women adjusting their standard is adjusting the entire concept of dating down financially, understanding that men didn't ask for feminism. It was women who wanted it, who fought for it, who burned bras in the streets to get it. You want it, you got it. Be careful what you ask for, because now the result of that, of the 50% of the workforce being women, the end result of 50% of the workforce being women, with women making close to the amount of money that men make, the end result of that is that there's going, right now in this country, 38% of women are the breadwinners in their marriages. 38% of women make more money than their husband. And most of those women are not black women because they're married the least. They're married the least. So that 38% number, that's a lot of Asian women, a lot of white women, a lot of Hispanic and Latino women who make more than their husband. They're figuring out a way to still somehow be feminine and or submissive and or whatever. They're figuring out a way to get together and make that work. Other people are figuring that out. I'm not saying, nobody is saying that black women or any woman should accept less in the character and how he treats her department. But if you happen to be a woman who makes a certain amount of money, yes, it is blatantly obvious that, yes, you can price yourself out of the market. If you make $150,000, $200,000 a year, and you say you have to be with a man that makes $200,000 a year or more, you limited, you shrunk your market ridiculously. And also, if you happen to be, as this woman that sparked this whole conversation, an average looking woman, how many men that make 100, 150,000, 200,000 are single and free, over between the age of 35 and up, just going around looking for Miss Average USA. Like, nobody's, that's she's priced herself out of the market. Now, if she was making $100,000 and was, very attractive, cooperative, feminine, and had all the other qualities that a guy wanted, and happens to make $100,000 a year, then okay, then she can ball in that league. She got a chance. She can get on. But it's an ultimate spin move for him to try to make it seem like it's about character. Nobody is talking about that. Nobody is talking about except cheating, except gaslighting, except this, except abuse, except whatever he's talking about. Nobody said that. That's a spin move. That's a lie. That's him trying to steer the conversation somewhere else to make it seem like people are saying something that he knows they're not saying.
This, ladies, you cannot both keep your fear of singleness and achieve your goals for a relationship. Like, you cannot have both your standards within a relationship and your aversion to singleness. You got to choose one or the other. Like, if you want to just have anybody, if you want to take what you can get, if you want to settle for just anything, you can do that, but you cannot have that and have your standards for a relationship. Why? Because you're
again, the factor that he willfully, deliberately does not average into the equation, because he will not accept the premise that there's a such thing as an average woman. He won't accept that. He absolutely will not accept that. And him not accepting that, and women not accepting that, is the reason why he could dance around the way that he's dancing around. Men have to do a proper appraisal of themselves. I understand exactly why Halle Berry in her prime looking women were not available to me and are not available to me. I understand that exactly. So everything that he's saying is null and void if it doesn't start with the woman doing a proper appraisal of herself. If the woman is average at best, everything he says is null and void, because she does have to adjust her standard to average. The market determines where she's at. The market determines what's available to her. And if you're not telling women that, you're giving them advice that's going to lead them to be single. Just like the other Kevin Samuels video that didn't go as viral, where he gave a man some serious advice who was delusional about his expectations out on the market.
You don't have a big wallet. You're a fat dude. And you got a lot of nerve thinking you should get choosing singles at 5'10" and 300 pounds, making less than $1,000 a month at 20 years old. And women should approach you. What they get, they don't even get a big.
To get your standards risen to, your needs met in a relationship are going to directly correlate with your willingness to be without a man if he's not meeting said standard. I get that from the women who have a man that rose to the occasion. If you ask any one of them, they'll let you know. They got to a point in their life where they said, it's this or nothing. Anything less than the type of man that they were going for, that they got now, they wouldn't do. They'd rather be single. And when I say a standard, what I'm speaking to is your boundaries.
Okay, and the $1 million question that you gotta, the factor that you have to average into the equation, if you're not making it clear or averaging this into the equation, then again, it's just word salad. Was the woman who set her standard at a top 10% man, was she a top 10% money? Not in terms of her income, but in terms of the other qualities that a top 10% man would be looking for. If you can't clearly explain that, you are just trying to word salad yourself out of a logical trap.
Any boundary on how long it's going to take for you to have sex with the man. Any boundary or requirement of, you know what, you need to have this level of detachment to your ex. You cannot be living with her. Any requirement of him having intention for the relationship, you know, going toward marriage. Any requirement of him of having a track record for him, not just, you know, selling you pipe dreams, just verbally expressing this, that, and the other, but really having
a man, that a woman should be with a man who's still living with an ex. Why do he go to the extreme like that? Why do he word salad his way to the moon? Why does I'm trying to get, I need to get somebody to give me the XY coordinates of the goalpost so a real discussion could be had. Like, come on.
And the plan, really having some motion, not being rich, but having ambition. Any standard or any boundary that you have automatically as a woman is going to cut your dating pool of eligible bachelors in half at minimum. It's going to give you less men to choose from. So yes, simple logic is, conversely, it's going to result in you being chosen less.
All right. Good job right there. Good job right there. He said it. He said that having some type of standard or this or that or blah, 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 a lot of word salad, but he's saying, yes, it will cut your pool of eligible bachelors by at least 50%. But again, I can keep going back to this. You know, if a woman is high quality, you know, she look good, she ain't a baby mama, even though we learned from Derrick Jaxn that single mothers are for grown men only, but that's neither here nor there. If she looks good, she's not a baby mama, she's feminine, she's taking good care of herself, she has all the qualities that a high quality man would want. She has all those qualities, but she puts her mark pretty high because she's pretty high. Even when she does that, she's still cutting her pool in half to probably by even more than 50%. By even more than 50%. She could be cutting it, you know, down to she could very well be cutting it by 90% or more. But that's fine. That's fine. You can still play in that pool. But when a woman, like the woman who started this conversation, is an over 35 baby mama, sketchy baby daddy, and average looking at best, she just cut hers down to 0.0 something percent. That's simple math. That's simple logic. I already broke down the math and the logic earlier. I'm not going to rehash that again. You cannot word salad your way out of that.
You have to be okay with that if you're going to have your standards met or your needs met in a relationship. The second reality check all women need is that you being highly sought after does not equate to you being highly valued. I say that because I see so many women who are doing all these different things in order to have more traffic, in order to have a line out the door or to attract a high value man. Like, instead of looking for this high value man, look for a man who's going to value you highly.
Whoa. Whoa. Do you see the double talk? Do you see the double talk in the word salad? Okay. He's saying don't look for a high value man. Look for a man who's going to value you highly. But at the beginning, he had just been saying you set your standard up here. You got to have your standard up here. And you just got to be comfortable with being single until you meet that standard, even though that we clearly know and understand that standard that they're talking about is the standard that ultimately equates to a high value man. But now he's saying, don't worry about a high value man. Worry about a man who values highly. Now he's coming back over to the logical side of the argument where it actually makes sense, where all the marriages that other people got going on, 38% of women, nearly 40% of women make more money than their husband in a marriage. And that's the reality of this. Men didn't ask for feminism. We didn't ask for it. They burnt bras in the streets. They got what they wanted. Now they're making more money than men. Some of them, they got what they wanted. And now they're living the results of it. 40% of them are making more money than their husband. So they have to adjust their standard of wanting a high value man and wanting a man who values them highly, because you can make a little bit more money than a man and he can still value you highly. You don't have a high value man, but you have a competent man with decent character and willing to commit to you and values you highly. That's different from what he's saying at the beginning when he's feeding their delusion of they all supposed to get a high value man. Shout out to Obsidian, where he's saying that they're supposed to, we're expected to put an Idris Elba in every pot. That's what he was arguing for at the beginning. Basically, stay single till you get your Idris. But now he's saying, don't worry about getting your Idris, getting your high value man, getting your high earner, getting your this, getting your that. Now he's saying, don't worry about a high value man, worry about a man who values you highly. Isn't that what Kevin Samuels was saying when he was saying what's wrong with an average guy? It's nothing wrong with average. Being average isn't a crime. You would just admit it that you are average. Get with an average man. So now he's circling it back there. There's one or two options. Either he's circling it back there where he's saying get with just a regular hardworking guy who may not be making all that money, but he values you highly. It's either one or two options. Either it's either that option or it's the latter. And the latter is he's saying, oh, no. Keep your same really high standard regardless of where you rank, but find you a high value man who values you highly. He's either saying accept an average man, a hardworking, maybe making slightly above average, but just a hardworking, competent, productive individual who values you highly, or he's saying hold out for a high value man that values you highly. It's one or the other. One option, he's refuting his original argument in the beginning of this video. The other option, he's shrinking her dating options even more. It's one or the other. Okay, because she has somebody to sell her self-love. All right.
Who are not the same. Like, look at any woman who has all these different guys who want her, millions of followers on Instagram, so on and so forth. And what you'll see is they have the same experiences with men that the woman that's quote unquote average or below average looking has, in terms of men that cheat, in terms of men that abuse, in terms of men that do this, that, and the other, that are trash, whatever the case may be. Therefore,
this was not about cheating and abusing and how a man is going to treat a woman. He's trying to keep spinning it back into that. That's more of the word salad, spin, move, dodge.
You conclude that a man's character is not contingent on how you look. A man's character is contingent on the quality of the man that he was before he even knew how you look.
Good point. I like that. I agree, Derrick. I agree. Good job.
So the last reality check I'll give y'all is this. If you want to achieve a goal in any aspect of life, relationships included, any goal that you want to achieve is going to come with sacrifices and it's going to come with scrutiny. If, say, in career success, anybody that's achieved their dream or they've gotten a PhD or even their master's or even college when everybody else in their family was settling for high school degrees or dropping out in 7th, 8th grade, anybody who's achieved anything will tell you along the way, the people that were cool with average, settling for average, they were telling them that they wanted too much. They were telling them that they were delusional. They were telling them that, you know what, you think you all that since you're trying to do this, that, and the other, you done changed up on me. There were sacrifices that came with it. There were places that they couldn't go. There was money that they couldn't spend on the things that they usually would. It came with sacrifices. It came with scrutiny. Same thing goes for in a relationship. If you're a woman out there, you saying, you know what, I understand what the average is. I understand most women settle for this, but I want that. I want a healthy relationship. I want a partner.
Again, we're not talking about. He keeps bringing it back to, but I want this. I want a healthy relationship. Nobody is saying settle for abuse. Nobody is saying that. He keeps circling it back there, but moving on.
I want a partner. I don't want somebody just acting like I'm expendable because they got money. I want to have my own money, and I want him to be secure enough with me.
Now, notice again, like I said in the beginning, he's speaking against men being providers, where he's argued in other videos that men should be providers and pay 100% of everything. Men who make good money are saying that I don't really care how much a woman makes. Even a man who makes around 65, 70K, he's not tripping off whether or not the woman makes what he's making. She can wait tables at a coffee shop. If he finds her attractive, she's nice, friendly, pleasant to be around, cooperative and feminine and a few other qualities, you know, he can work with her. He can work with her, but he's arguing that that man who makes more money than you will view you as expendable because he makes more money than you. So he's telling women, you need to grind and make the same amount of money as the man that you're with. He's arguing for 50-50 relationships and 50-50 partnerships and 50-50, basically what they would call in another conversation, he's arguing for roommates. Because that's what they call it. Because I know she's not coming to the table with all this work ethic and making all this money just so she could show up in the relationship and then just quit working and be taken care of by this man. But then what's the point of her using the money as a bargaining chip for her value that she's bringing? So clearly her plan is to work and grind alongside his grind. Well, okay. That's fine. That's fine. But just know that you are arguing against men being providers to women for women. You've been boxed into that corner. I just want to make that very clear.
My own money that he tries to help me get more. As I help him get more, I want more than average. You're gonna have people that call you delusional. You're gonna have people that call you stuck up, snobby, snooty, full of yourself, etc. You have to learn to be okay with the scrutiny and the sacrifice if you're going to achieve your goal in any aspect of life, relationships included. But those are just my thoughts. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll let y'all later. Y'all be good. Peace.
And that more or less wraps that up. My conclusion is that it's all over the place. The logical side of this argument is talking about simple math. Understanding that if women are making close to the amount of money that men make, there's only going to be a small percentage of those high-earning women who are going to end up with a high-earning man. Because men are still choosing based off the way that they've always chosen, and it wasn't because of how much money a woman makes. So to argue against that and to say that men shouldn't be choosing based off the same criteria that they always chose off of, they should choose based off a woman who's also grinding and making her own money and getting her own bag and all of this and all of that, you're basically arguing that women, that men ultimately shouldn't work hard and make that money and make more money than women and be in a position to provide. That's what he's arguing for. And that's fine if you want to argue that, but I just wanted to say that's a departure from your previous arguments. But really all of his arguments are a departure from his previous arguments, because whatever he says, I can pull up a video of him saying something else that contradicts what he said in another video. And I've done that before in previous videos that I'll attach to this. I'll attach to this one. But there's that. That's Bernard Riley Reviews. That wraps it up. So thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. And we out of here.